But
oh, we got it. We have got it. We know the score.
Yes, we are getting into a TVZ where the ZergLord is up 1-0.
Ooh. And we were actually talking about this earlier today. We were really hoping that Jim Rising versus, what's his name, Dastan, wouldn't be too long because we wanted to be able to cast this particular series as well. Unfortunately, we won't get to cast a full series, but fortunately, we at least get to have a bit of a look into it, as here we are, two very hype players spawning in, starting off, going to be in Nightshade, otherwise known as Meladonna LE. We have in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, it is going to be a blue Terran, coming in all the way from the land of Brazil. We have, representing Alpha X, it is not the holy man, he is Sinner.
It's not Sunday.
That's where his power. He's like a reverse Nemi.
Exactly, and just a bit of a clarification. He's from Mexico, of course.
Oh, Mexico.
Yeah.
Wait, really? Why did I keep thinking Brazil?
Because speaking of Brazil, we have the Brazilian Zerg player representing Team The Bad. It is the ZergLord. So close.
I thought it was the other way around, Light. I thought the ZergLord was Mexican.
God damn.
Oh, no.
So I do actually really like this. Sinner is going for an SCV scout. He scouts that it was gas pool hatch. So the hatch is very late, and the ZergLord is looking to be pretty aggressive with these lings.
Nodding along, there is no wall in the... Oh, no, wait, it's a ZvT. It's not a ZvP, okay.
Yeah, and because of that SCV scout, he does throw down the CC on the high ground, so it will be fine. It won't be denied. So...
Well, you say that, but that's not a wall. Come on, Sinner.
That's
Gotta
not...
plug your hole.
That's not a wall.
Plug your hole, Sinner. Okay, it's gonna be a wall pretty soon.
Yeah, it should be fine.
Okay, there it is.
And I'm a little bit concerned because Sinner so far, he doesn't know what that early gas was for. I thought it was going to be for early link speed, but we do have a Roach Warren on the way.
That it is a really good follow-up coming out from this sort of early pool timing. Now it's going to be on Sinner to really, and basically his reactions. I'm thinking, because there are two ways to respond to this, right? As a Terran player, you can either be thinking, oh yeah, no, I've dealt with the Lings, this is fine, I'm gonna go into something like a more Hellion or harassment-faced army. The other way to think of this is, I need to defend, I need to get a tank out, and if he goes for the tank, he'll be fine. But yeah, we'll see. He is getting that tap lab, which is a good sign. Yeah,
I'm curious to see if he goes for the tank or if he goes for the swap with the starport and goes for a Banshee instead. Ooh.
Okay, well, I mean, getting the Banshee, that's also not bad versus Roaches. May not be as potent, but there's definitely still defensive potential here, especially in the early game when the numbers are this low. But it's going to be quite a while before he gets the Banshee out.
And the Roach...
A little bit out of position.
Yeah, the Roach Ravager is already here, knocking at the front door of Sinner. He does have a couple of units and he can chip away at this, but the Banshee is still a ways away. Ooh, the nice repairs though will be able to keep the wall up for now, but Depot does go down.
You know what I really like, Light?
But
the Reaper's still alive.
It is still alive.
They don't underestimate them in this sort of scenario. Just, being able to bounce your opponent's army a little bit away, it buys you just that much more time.
Yeah, and it looks like one of the Ravagers is so close to being taken out as well. It looks like
but really good backing away. Is ZergLord overextending? Does lose one of them, but it looks like he still has an army here. The Banshee is now out, though.
Yeah, the Banshee and the Cyclone.
Trying to go for some SCVs, but Yeah, could try to go for some SCVs, but not much else there. Devs get another delay onto that supply depot. But one thing to keep in mind is that ZergLord was not committed with his rush. He just sent those out to buy himself time to drone up. He is getting his third base out now. I'm not sure who I'd favor in this scenario, but ZergLord is up about 20 workers.
Yeah, Sinner, he really needs to catch up on the worker count. I do like that he is already working on his third CC, so that is going for him. He is moving out across the map with that Banshee, but oh, maybe he could deny this base actually, because there isn't crease spread connecting, so this actually could be huge. I was gonna say that I don't see him killing very many drones because there are already spores, but the third is in a kind of precarious situation.
Yeah, I like using the Cyclone as well, just to zone away the queens.
Yeah. And with
don't want to let them get locked on. They have no energy for transfuses.
Yeah, and even if he doesn't get the base now, like it's pretty close to death. Yeah. And as soon as
fuck on, Dallas should get that queen.
Yeah, and now with the more cyclones, like these queens, oh my god, they're all gonna go down.
Oh, I am liking what Sinner's throwing out there, really living up to his name. This is not what a holy man would do, let me put it that way.
It is not, and Cloak did finish up for the Banshee as well, so if it needs to, it can also utilize that as well.
It's down.
There it is. Yeah, no detection other than the spores, as there is a lair but no overseer quite yet with this army, and as you said, the third is down.
Like Chinatown.
Exactly. Ah, he's even denying the third again.
Very nicely done by our Mexican Terran player here.
And really, like, this is what he needed to do. Like, he is really behind in the worker count, but that gap is slowly closing. I think when it started, he was down 20 workers, right? And he's closed that gap to he's almost caught up.
Exactly. Being down about 5 workers in TVC isn't actually that bad. In fact, if you, depending on how you mule, you could actually get ahead.
Yeah, definitely. So Sinner, he was able to apply the pressure. He was able to get a third CC, and now with triple CC production, he's catching up. He's going to be able to get his third base as well, maybe even sooner than the third base of the ZergLord, because it's not even halfway done yet. So Sinner is looking pretty solid right now. He's working on his upgrades. His stim is about to finish up, and we'll see what the ZergLord does, because at the moment he is sticking with Roach Ravager. Still no Baneling Nest, as oh my god, this is actually a pretty scary push.
This is a pretty scary push, but there are 3 tanks here. Are they in position? One of them is, and the other one will be able to back that up. So yeah, this should be fine depending on the vision, really, for ZergLord.
Yeah,
he really needs to get his overseers on top of these tanks.
Definitely, he needs to be in range to bile, and it looks like the first tank.
One of them.
Oh, it doesn't even go down.
He only went for 2 biles.
Yeah.
He didn't go for the triple bile. Whoa.
And it's going to be repaired.
And now that there are 3 tanks out, yeah, this is actually looking very rough for the ZergLord. Dustrush should get a bile, and Dustrush should take out one of these tanks, but look at the spread of Marines.
Wow.
GG is called, and Sinner gonna be tying up this series sideways 1-1.
Yaku, there's a reason why I wanted to cast them, right?
Yeah.
They do go back and forth, and they do have pretty conflicting styles. Like the ZergLord, he's very much so an aggressive player. Meanwhile, Sinner, he's more of like a solid, like, defensive player. I say that, but this game, like, he had some really good counter damage.
He definitely did. He did have to defend that early game, but yeah, counterattacking is very key in one of those positions. Kuro is now reminding me that I made a mistake, and we actually talked about this last night. Like, you told me when we were you briefed me on Sentimento, and you said I gotta roll the R's more.
Oh yeah.
And talk about this.
Exactly. And I did notice that the teams were wrong for that first intro, as I was still setting up.
Yeah.
But
before they
it should be good.
Load it on in. Yeah, that's a tip for anybody looking to use a casting tool. Get that done early. Make that your first priority, because once you get to loading screen, no matter what changes you make, it doesn't quite go through.
Yeah. Yes, but now casting tool is set up. We do have the Brazilian caster in here as well. Meanwhile, if you do want to tune into another series, Grizzly is, I believe she's casting Jim Rising at the moment. So
no. She is casting Paco Mike versus Shelby.
Ooh.
Or Shelby versus someone. Yeah, Shelby versus Paco Mike.
Nice. Yeah, that's another good series. Meanwhile, as
Yeah.
What's up?
You're like, yeah, that's not a good series. It's like we gotta have the hype.
No, I said that's another good series. And speaking of other good series, like I'm just looking at the brackets and we have Eggs versus B-Lord. That's pretty hype as well. As B-Lord, he's more of a returning player. He's kind of old school.
Can we get a free-for-all, like ZergLord, B-Lord, Terran Lord, Sniper?
Uh-huh.
Because he went for Investor Brute Lord back in the day.
The Lord of Lords.
Yeah, exactly. All right, then we're gonna be loading on in now.
Here we go. We're tied up. Ace match.
And speaking of being tied up sideways, Juan here in this Sentimiento Latino number 8 de 6. We are going to be spotting in onto Everdream LE Ideally Edle, which will be our map in the top right hand corner map. Spotting in the top right hand corner of the map, we have a blue Terran all the way from the land of Mexico. He is the reverse Demi. He is representing Alpha X. It's Sinner.
Honestly, I think we need a fair match. We need between Demi and Sinner.
Sinner, yes.
And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Everdream LE, we have the Brazilian Zerg player representing Team The Bad. It is TheZergLord.
The Zerger King.
Yeah. I always love how, for whatever reason, some of the two like notable Brazilian players are the ZergLord and Terran. It's like, all right.
It's because they know how to market it, you know?
Uh-huh.
They tell people exactly what they're gonna get when they cast them.
Exactly. They know. They know. As, oh, okay. Huh.
Oh, he's hiding that factory. Interesting.
Yeah, he got the factory before the add-on.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect from this.
Well, yeah, way before the add-on, I should point out.
Yeah.
Why? I'm trying to think why this would be. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's trying to go for a mind drop? Question mark.
Yeah, like if he also hides his starport in the back. Maybe, I guess. We'll see. I'm honestly not too sure what he's gonna do with it.
Could be. It could be a Hellion drop or a Hellion Reaper drop.
Yeah.
There's a starport being thrown down. Oh, he's going for Ravens.
Ravens or Banshee?
Banshees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. This isn't Hut that we're casting.
Hut is literally the only Terran I've seen.
Yeah. literally the only one that gets Ravens in TPC.
Oh.
And then plays Bio. Because sometimes there are Terran players who get Ravens, but they usually transition to Mech.
Yeah, and nicely done there, Sinner. He was delaying that third base for quite some time. Keeps the Reaper alive for now. Still hasn't gone into the main base though to get a good scat off.
Yeah, it's definitely a risk that you're taking as a Terran player to not go into the main base. One thing that you can do is sort of keep the Reaper outside the natural and react to the units that your Zerg opponent is throwing out. But
the Link gets
there's
in.
a lot of the Link does get in. It gets a fantastic scout out. Sees it will be researched, and did Sinner just cancel that?
Yeah.
He did, and he cancels Banshee, gets a Viking out, goes into a fusion core. Is that the right response?
Hold on. Okay. I like it. I love it, actually. He goes into the Viking because he needs to buy time for the fusion core to finish before he starts a BC. And I was gonna say that it's such a shame because he was working so hard to deny scouting, killing that Overlord, and the Ling went in, but he's trying to deceive his opponent.
That's 1-2 punch. This is how you can really tell he's a sinner. Is something of something? I don't know. Ask Demi. He probably knows.
He probably does. As the fusion core is finishing up, there it is. BC. Unfortunately, once again, no ranged libs.
I was gonna say, you were like, "Oh, I like this." I'm like, "I'll only like this if it's gonna be ranged libs."
I mean, that would have been the real sin right there. Like, let's be real.
It would have, yeah. You know what's funny, Light, is I'm the guy who preaches about liberators the most, but in my most recent stream, in TVT, Kerwin's yelling at me, "Get liberators," and I got BCs instead.
God damn it.
I'm a hypocrite.
Oh, God. Yeah, meanwhile, the Zerg, both players are kind of macroing up. The ZergLord isn't too far ahead, as, he is droning up, but he's also getting a Spire as well. I imagine, it looks like he's just going Lingbane Muta.
It's definitely possible. I think another thing that could have happened is ZergLord realized the Banshees aren't here yet, the Vikings on the map, could be BCs, might see some Corruptors coming out here. There's that BC coming in. Yup, if ZergLord wasn't sure before, he's definitely sure now. We do see Magfield being researched by Sinner, which does indicate that he's going to go into Mech. Yep, there's the second factory being thrown down. And this BC, it's actually in a bit of a rock and a hard place right now. It does manage to escape in the end, but that was not the safest position for the BC to be in. I got worried for a sec.
Yeah, especially since it did teleport in, so it's just relying on its own movement speed to escape, and there's a lot of queens, Jesus Christ.
The march. Get off my lawn.
Honestly,
that's when all the grandmas, the Polish grandmas, get together.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame that this build was more like impromptu, because this would have been an amazing moment for like the Hellions to dive into the third or something like that, but because of the opener, like there weren't any Hellions, like it was mainly like Marines made in the beginning, so there wasn't any multi-prong to come with that.
Mula's coming out from the ZergLord.
Yeah, he's committing to the Lingbane Muta, like seeing the BCs didn't change his mind.
Alright, I'm not sure this is something he's known for, but yeah, this is definitely because of how BCs only do single target. There's definitely the opportunity for ZergLord to sort of dive in, snipe a couple of workers, dive out, and sacrifice as little Mutalists as possible. I don't think it's likely that the ZergLord is going to keep everything alive, but just minimizing the risk in order to really get a lot of worker damage done. That's one thing the Zerg player can do.
Yeah, it definitely is. So far, these Mutalists haven't dealt too much damage. So far, the defense has been pretty solid for Sinner. He has a nice missile turret spread. He has units in position as well. Ooh, but the tank is a little bit exposed. He could dive on it.
Yeah, it is. So it's the third base. Or no, the fourth base that was being built.
Yeah, but there were Cyclones in position. This is so weird. Like, we've got like Ferrari mech, but we also have like a couple of Marines as well, and tanks and BCs. Yeah, it's...
No, the Marines are mostly for early game defense.
True, yeah. It's not like he's like got Stim on the way and he's got more Raxes or anything. That'd
watch if Sinner really sins and does go into that. Liberator's coming out, hell yeah!
Oh,
I like this guy.
Is that the right call? Maybe. I mean,
Hydroling Bane? Nah, if it was Hydroling Bane, I would have been like, it's an amazing move, but yeah, I don't think so here.
I tend to agree. I'm not too sure what the purpose of the Liberators are going to be, unless maybe he wants them purely for harass or anti-air. I feel like harass. That's got to be the option.
I mean, Liberators for harass, I don't know. They're actually not bad when you get them in high enough numbers. But obviously, you're going to need something like a Thor or a Viking to clean up what's left of them. These BCs will manage to get out and do get a lot of damage done here. Gets a bunch of queens, forces a lot of energy out of them as well.
Yeah.
So done by Sinner here.
Even a couple of worker kills as well, so nicely done. And oh my god, I'm only just realizing that 1-1 is still on the way for the ZergLord. Yeah, just spending a lot of his gas early on teching up instead of those upgrades.
And he is still spending that gas on teching up. Thankfully, ZergLord is starting to build that gas bank up, which is one thing that you definitely need when you're going into your hive tech. And now here comes a bit of a flank on these Lings, but they're not quite able to get much done. I like how these Liberators are here mostly for defense, just trying to keep as many Ling Bane away from this worker line. This is not an efficient trade at all for the ZergLord. Army just goes completely down, and Sinner, it's not often that the Meching Terran player has an opportunity this soon to go across the map, but Sinner just got given it.
Yeah, oh my god, like, the Ling Bane, the Sinner's control against that Ling Bane was insane. He was able to pull away his units, and sure, a bunch of his Hellions went down to them, but that's negligible. Like, in the end, Cyclones were able to push away the Mutalisks, and Sinner, he didn't really lose anything important in that fight. Nicely done there. He was even able to keep his VCs alive.
That he was, and we see them still utilizing that Yamato. Takes out even more queens. The ZergLord, his creep spread is actually really good. So despite all of these queens being taken out, he still is reaching about half the map. But you can't help but think, if those queens did get taken out by the BCs, how much more creep would there be on the map? Yeah,
definitely. So far, like, Sinner's doing a good job at stemming that creep spread. Despite that, it is still pretty good, so we'll see if he's able to push it back even further as the ZergLord is expanding to the north as well. So far, I don't think we've seen the Liberators come into play, actually, unless we missed them trying to move out across the map.
Yeah, he's using them entirely for defense right now, which I can't really blame him. It's kind of hard to really utilize this sort of McLaren unit composition defensively, but typically you see tanks come out, right?
Yeah, it's an odd choice to say the least, especially because, like, it can't really be that useful for defense against Ling run-bys, right? Like, killing one Ling at a time.
But two Liberators, though, if they can get the Venn diagram out, the firing rate of Liberators, I think, is something that a lot of players do underestimate. A lot, myself included.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's probably pretty good against Baneling run-bys, because there's usually a low amount of Banelings, like, rolling in, so you pull the workers away and then the Liberators snipe all the Banelings. I imagine that's probably what he's setting up for.
And those are really what's scary in these sort of ZvTs. Like, Lings, they are negligible. You know, you pull away your SCVs, or depending on how the upgrades are looking like, you might even want to fight them, and then you lift your building, or in the case of a planetary, you just repair it. But with Banelings, they just crash straight on in to the planetary. So I'm liking what Sinner is doing, just trying to minimize the amount of Banelings that can come in. Sometimes it's just a difference of one Baneling. that can really make the difference of whether your planetary lives or dies.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see if that even comes into play. We'll see if the ZergLord is one to go for those, or if he's saving up all his banelings for a head-on engagement. As
lurkers, not lurkers, the other one. What's it called? Infestors.
Yeah, bird infestors. You know, they're banking up their energy for fungals. We've got ultras on the way as well. Like the ZergLord's army is getting pretty scary.
Oh, he researched neural. These infestors are safe. They took negligible damage there. There's not a lot of units here, and you know what, like, the units that are here, they are looking prime for the neural. There goes the Thors, there goes the BCs. And look at that, a lot of friendly fire being dealt there with
is there enough
the mines.
The BCs,
I don't think there is. I don't think there is. ZergLord decided to fight here in this planetary. Does get the planetary at the end, but traded basically his entire army. Look at the supply difference right now. These infestors are going straight to heck.
Straight to hell. That's the sinner.
Sinner taking them to hell. Or condemning them, if you will.
Yeah, again, that was a pretty questionable engagement. He lost his entire ground army, he lost everything, all his mutalisks, all his infestors, and he did that without ultralisks. Like, he had the tech, he could have waited, he wasn't maxed out at all, but instead he decided to go for it, and now is the opportunity for Sinner to counterattack.
It very much so is. There are links coming out, and you see them melting to the Hellbats. This is looking pretty rough. Like, ZergLord did bank up quite a bit of resources there, but now that bank is completely gone.
That it is, and the ultralists are revealed. So Sinner, he is aware of them, and with the Cyclones, just able to snipe that hatchery.
That it did, and you know what? Like, we've heard about Brutal Infestor, but Ultralisk Infestor. I guess it would be Infestor Ultralisk. Interesting choice coming up from ZergLord.
Yeah, I mean, it can work. Typically you see this against bio because you fungal the bio so that the ground army can catch up to it. Against mech, obviously
it's still possible versus a mech.
It definitely is.
Sort of Ferrari mech style.
I'm a little bit concerned because we've seen ZergLord prioritize neural instead of fungal, so it looks like that's probably what he wants to go for instead, but we'll see how he ends up utilizing them, and because, you know, there are definitely options.
That there are, but we do see Sinner already getting that detection up, throwing turrets everywhere.
I like how these ultralists, they're really keen on getting these aliens.
I'm going to get you. I got my speed boost. I can get you. Nice fungal. But is it too soon?
We'll see.
It's not going to be getting sniped there. Would it be worth it to just mural this Liberator?
I mean, maybe. It's definitely possible, as we do have a lot of Liberators going around trying to deny more and more mining, but ZergLord has had enough.
That he has. He's going all the way in. Good murals coming out here. The Ultralists, though, they are getting on top of these tanks, and that is fantastic, but is it enough? It looks like it actually is. Liberators are coming in.
Yeah. Liberators are coming in. The Cyclones, the planetary stands strong.
Yeah. It's honestly kind of surprising. I was going to say a little bit surprising that that ZergLord just continued to target the planetary instead of going for the workers, but I guess there wasn't really much to do there in the end for ZergLord. He was just so behind, had to do something, and yeah, that was definitely a series. Like,
yeah, there's a reason why you don't often see infestors and ultras as a combo against mech of all things. I like what he was doing, but like, to be fair, Sinner himself had a really peculiar composition. He was very Thor heavy, and there wasn't even any anti-air. Like, his air to the ultras were Thors, and I mean, that works. We saw it work, right? But
yeah, the Thors are taken out, but
yeah, it feels like it just so happened to work though. Like, I feel like if there were more Lings, if it wasn't just pure ultra, which was basically pure ultra, if he had more Lings, then he would have fared better against against that composition, against Mass Thor.
That it will. That it will.
Yeah, that it will, as Darking confirming that the finals will be Zerg versus Mexico, as the upper brackets being Eggs. Yeah, Eggs, B-Lord, Darker Named, and Neo Shaggy are all Zerg. Meanwhile, Paco, Mike, Sinner, and Jim Rising are Mexico. In the lower bracket, lower half.
That's my favorite matchup.
Yeah, it's pretty good.